Good Day Chicago at 6 starts now.
Now at 6, honoring the late Reverend Jesse Jackson. Final farewells begin today with a public service.
And a shakeup in the Trump administration. Kristi Noem is out as Homeland Security Secretary. We are going to talk about who's been nominated to take her place.
The Bears are cutting more salary to give them some flexibility ahead of the start of the new league year.
And taking a live look outside this morning. Another foggy start, and Mike says we'll see some showers, some thunderstorms, and we might possibly be pushing a record when it comes to temperatures. The question is, will we be able to get outside and enjoy it properly?
It's essentially everything that's happening.
Yeah, exactly. What is not happening weather-wise? No snow. Okay.
No snow. We've got that going for us. This is just a spectacular view here from Willis Tower overlooking our beautiful city. You can see that fog weaving its way through. And then you get a little bit of light coming up on the horizon there. This is really, you know, from this elevation, it's a beautiful morning. But at ground level, maybe not so much. We do have a dense fog advisory in effect for all of Chicagoland until 10 o'clock. There are obviously going to be some gaps here and there, maybe driving along and you can't see in front of your hood, and then a few feet down the road might improve a little bit. But in addition to that, we've got ourselves some weather on the way in the form of showers and thunderstorms that are moving in from the west. Let's take a look here at the radar, and you can see this activity approaching, coming out of Iowa. It is now right over the Mississippi River. A few heavier showers also here, probably near Freeport. This is all moving to the northeast and will impact Chicagoland here later today. Gabriella, any impacts from this fog on our commute yet?
You know, Mike, I haven't seen as many crashes as, we saw yesterday morning. So things are looking a little better. Still leave yourself some extra room this morning. And with that comes some extra time as well for your morning commute. We do have a crash, though. If you're headed towards O'Hare, you're definitely going to want to listen up. It's eastbound on the Jane Addams, approaching that long 190 ramp that takes you to O'Hare. So please be aware of that. It's over in the right lane. And there's a lot of flashing lights, it looks like. For your drive time on the Kennedy, going inbound, it's 30 minutes from O'Hare to downtown, 25 minutes on the Eisenhower, 25 minutes on the Stevenson, 20 minutes on the Dan Ryan. And as usual on a Friday, I tell you about some construction that's going to be happening on Metro this weekend, so expect delays if you're coming into the city.
Yikes.
Anthony.
Okay, Gabs, thank you very much. Reverend Jesse Jackson will be celebrated today for his long and brave fight for civil rights.
Our Saquon is live outside the House of Hope with today's services. Good morning, Say.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, we are waiting for the doors to open up here at House of Hope, of course, as thousands of people are expected to walk in through the doors here to remember and celebrate the life of Reverend Jesse Jackson. One of those people walking through the doors today is Karen Freeman Wilson, CEO of Chicago Urban League. Thank you so much for just taking the time to chat with me today. And I think, you know, the no-brainer question this morning is, you know, how are you feeling? I don't really think there's one word that can quite encapsulate, you know, the emotions of everything today.
It really is hard to tell, but for me, it's reflective. And that is because this is an opportunity to celebrate Reverend Jackson's life, but also reflect on his legacy and what it means going forward.
So what do we think about that? I mean, we talked about this before we actually went on air here, passing the torch and carrying that torch now. What do you think that looks like, and what do you think Reverend would have wanted?
I think that he certainly would have appreciated this celebration of his life, but I think he also wants us to forge ahead. So many of the things that he fought so hard for are still a work in progress. When you think about voting rights, when you think about food insecurity, very often you wonder, are we taking 3 steps forward to take 2 steps back? Or what does it really mean? And I think that the importance of us working together, banding together, making it a multi-generational effort is what he would want to see, and certainly what he fought for during his lifetime.
Yeah, definitely some unfinished business there. Now, will you just maybe elaborate on your connection to the Reverend himself, and you know, just tell me about maybe some of your favorite memories with the Reverend?
So it happened from the time that I'm 7, because he was so close to Gary's Mayor Hatcher, and I'm a native of Gary, Indiana. So he would come, and every time he would come, I would just, you know, crane my neck to see. But in more recent times, as the president and CEO of the Chicago Urban League, we worked together. And my favorite memory is the day that he just showed up at the office, and I wasn't even there. They said, Reverend Jackson is here. And so I went scrambling to meet him because, you know, when he showed up, you showed up. And he was talking to me about some work that we would do together. But when I got there, I had a M&M peanuts on my desk. He had raided the peanuts, and so we had a good laugh about that, and that was one of my most memorable pictures with him as well.
Well, peanut M&Ms, it sounds like he had some good taste there.
Yeah.
Tell me maybe just more about the Reverend, because I feel like, you know, for us, we've only seen such a specific part of Reverend, specifically when he's out doing work, out doing outreach. What was he like behind closed doors? You told us a little bit about how he would go after the peanut M&Ms and you guys would work together, but maybe some things that, you know, we wouldn't know about that you saw.
You know, what I saw is he was one of the most strategic thinkers. Very often, you have people who are iconic, who have a group of folks in the room working, trying to tell them what to say. He was the strategy person as well as the spokesperson. And so we would sit down and he would sit down with his close associates and really think about, okay, what does this mean when you say that they're going to cut off food stamps or health care? What does it mean when people are still threatening voting rights? And what's the best way to go? He understood also the symbolism of his presence. And I think that's why he worked so hard to be present everywhere. You saw him in Minnesota. You saw him down in Selma. You saw him in Washington. And there were times when you would think, well, he really shouldn't be out here. But I would talk to Jonathan or Jesse Jr. and they would say, you can't keep him at home.
Okay, before we wrap things up here, I just want to ask one quick question, too. This obviously is drawing some really big names. You think about former presidents, Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. How do you think Reverend would have reacted to that, the showing that we're expected to see here for this event?
I think at his core, he was a humble man. And so he would be very humbled by it. He would be excited because he certainly enjoyed the time that he spent with those in high offices. But he is probably the epitome of someone who walked with kings and never lost the common touch.
That's really great insight. Karen Freeman Wilson for us. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Of course, everything gets underway here at 11 o'clock this morning. But guys, coming up in the next half hour or so, I'll take you to Bronzeville, specifically actually the 47th Street area, and we'll learn a little bit more about the impact the Reverend had on the city's south side. Back to you.
We can't wait. And I have a feeling you're going to be sharing a lot of great stories with us, this morning.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll catch up with you again. Today's homegoing service starts at 11 a.m. with a musical prelude. From there, and after the call to order, Dr. Michael Flager will start things off with a prayer, followed by additional remarks. Joseph Jackson will open the service today. And after that, we're expecting to hear many remarks from family members to politicians, including Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson, as well as former presidents Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and former Vice President Kamala Harris.
The U.S., other news here, says attacks will continue to intensify as Israel continues to launch strikes against Iran and Hezbollah militants in Lebanon. Iran also launched more drones and missiles against Israel and Saudi Arabia overnight. U.S. Central Command says the rate of retaliatory attacks and drone strikes have actually plummeted since Saturday. President Trump, and those are strikes from Iran, the Iranian side. President Trump pushed again on Thursday for Iranians to take to the streets.
Now is the time to stand up for the Iranian people and help take back your country. You're going to have a chance after all these years to take back your country.
While U.S. officials say a ground invasion is not in the works, they've also not ruled that out.
Reaction continues to pour in after the shakeup within the Trump administration. Kristi Noem has been removed from her position as Homeland Security Secretary. This move comes after Noem was grilled on Capitol Hill over her management of the department. The tipping point stemming from her testimony claiming President Trump approved a $220 million ad campaign for DHS. The president says not only did he not authorize the spending, he did not know about the ads. Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullen will take over the position and serve in an acting role, but will need to be confirmed by the Senate first.
It's just, pretty humbling when you start thinking about it. A little kid from Westville, Oklahoma, gets to serve in the president's cabinet.
A change in personnel is not sufficient. We need a change in policy. And that has to be bold, dramatic, transformational, and meaningful.
Noem will serve as special envoy for the Shield of the Americas. It's a new initiative focusing on security in the Western Hemisphere.
All right, more than 20 states, including Illinois, are filing a lawsuit over new global tariffs that were imposed by President Trump. The group of Democratic-led states argue that the president is overstepping his power and sidestepping the Supreme Court, which last month struck down tariffs imposed under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The president then said he would use a different law to levy new tariffs.
A proposed data center project in Joliet is moving forward. It was approved last night by the City Plan Commission. The development will be the largest one in the state, and it is dividing the city. The council chambers were packed last night with multiple overflow rooms. In addition, the data center would be built on 795 acres of farmland on Joliet's east side. It would require large amounts of water for cooling and electricity to power the digital storage and AI functions that would operate inside. There was support and concern for the proposal.
Joliet has a generational opportunity in front of it to attract a major long-term investment that can create jobs, strengthen the tax base, and signal that Joliet is open for responsible growth.
These are mega rich people. They're not here doing charitable acts for us. They're not coming from Virginia. They're not coming from Texas because they love Joliet. I'm here because I love Joliet, and I don't want our utility bills to go up.
The data center proposal will now go before the City Council for a vote on March 16th. 6:12, the Bears continue to make some moves to clear out some money to increase their cap space with plenty of holes to fill.
Yes, indeed. Among them on offense. Yeah, a couple of holes to fill on offense. Shake up. The Bears trading DJ Moore and a 5th-round pick to the Bills in exchange for a 2nd-round pick. So that move will free up more than $16 million in cap space. After the Bears drafted Colston Loveland and Luther Burden III, Moore finished with a career-low 50 catches and 682 yards last season.
But Anthony, the Bears weren't done there. As expected, it was announced last night that they were releasing linebacker Tremaine Edmunds. The Bears announced more than a week ago that Edmunds was given permission to seek that trade. The Bears will save $15 million by not bringing him back in.
All right, Mike, I am not a sports guy. I don't know the inner workings of the team.
I didn't know that, Anthony.
Well, no, I am. I'm not an inside sports guy. But what I can't help but think about with this DJ Moore thing is the very final play of that final game against the Rams. Yeah. When there was a miscommunication between Caleb, when they were driving back, they were trying to get in field goal range. That was not the right way to end the season.
It wasn't, but I don't think that has anything to do with why.
You don't?
No, I don't. I don't. I think it was a decision that was probably on the docket even prior to that. It's cap space. That's what it is. We need that money. As you pointed out, we have some holes to fill, not the least of which is right in front of Caleb Williams. We need a new center. So he's going to do fine. He's got a pretty good quarterback.
Josh Allen? Yeah, that'll be a good combo
to throw to DJ Moore. All right, get ready here. To quote Betty Davis, it's going to be a bumpy night and a bumpy day, too. We've got a lot on the table here. Warmer and wetter. Morning fog, then rounds of storms through early tomorrow morning. Becoming much warmer today. Highs, I think, will range between 62 in, say, Winthrop Harbor to 75 degrees. You get into the Kankakee River Valley. Above average temperatures into next week with showers returning to the area Tuesday and Wednesday. 44 and foggy at O'Hare. East wind at 5. You can still see some of the tops of the buildings there. A little bit of light above our fog deck. 48 degrees at Aurora, home of one of the most beautiful college and university campuses, as we've been reporting. 51 at Joliet, only 40 at Waukegan, 50 at Valparaiso and Michigan City. Visibility numbers still really low, and O'Hare has some of the lowest, only an eighth of a mile there. If you're flying or driving, plan ahead. There may be some delays ahead of you. Here are the showers and thunderstorms coming out of Iowa, now moving into northwest Illinois. You can see this activity is still a few hours away, but it is not going to be held back. I'll show you our future radar here in just a few. Gabriella, Anthony?
Thank you, Mike. The CTA is just weeks away from having to fulfill a deadline to submit a safety plan. What they're saying is coming up.
Get any
Welcome back. The public homegoing service for Reverend Jesse Jackson is being held this morning.
The service begins at 11 this morning at the House of Hope. Doors open at 9. A private service will be held tomorrow. Reverend Jesse Jackson died last month at the age of 84.
A proposed data center project in Joliet is for the time being moving forward. It was approved last night by the City Plan Commission. The development will be the largest one in the state, and it is dividing the city. It would be built on 795 acres of farmland on Joliet's east side.
We said the Bears continue to trim their payroll. As expected, it was announced last night that they're releasing linebacker Tremaine Edmonds. Remember, the Bears announced more than a week ago that Edmonds was given permission to seek a trade. The Bears will save $15 million by not bringing him back.
Grammy-winning pop star Britney Spears in legal trouble after being arrested in Southern California. The 44-year-old was taken into custody on suspicion of DUI. Authorities say she was booked and later released. In a statement, her manager called the incident unfortunate and inexcusable, adding that Spears plans to take the necessary steps to comply with the law. She is scheduled to appear in court in May.
The DOJ says it's releasing nearly 50,000 documents linked to Jeffrey Epstein. The Wall Street Journal reports some files mention President Trump. Meanwhile, the House Oversight Committee has voted to subpoena Attorney General Pam Bondi over the investigation. They are also requesting Bill Gates to participate in this testimony.
The CTA is 2 weeks away from having to fulfill an important deadline. The federal government is requiring the CTA to submit a new safety plan after several violent incidents on the trains. CTA says it'll be submitting a plan by the March 19th deadline. The Federal Transit Administration told the CTA to submit a new safety plan since the agency said the CTA's plan failed to set monthly targets for assaults to reduce them over the next 6 months, reduction targets. The group Violence Interrupters has been riding the CTA for months, and they say that they have de-escalated dozens of incidents that could have turned violent.
Need people that understand the population of individuals that board the trains. That's most important. You got to have people on them trains that know how it looks. You know how it looks when a person is about to commit an act of violence. So my thing is, once you get the right individuals on the train that know how to communicate and network with that population, you'll be okay.
The city added 120 police officers to patrol the buses and trains, and that was up from 77 in the months prior. Mike?
All right, showers and thunderstorms. They're bearing down on us. They're still a few hours away. So for the immediate future, fog is taking center stage. But I want you to look at the radar. And what had looked like it was going to be a primarily northwest of the city sort of a deal for the morning hours, I'm not so sure about that anymore. Take a look how far south that shower and thunderstorm activity goes. Let me turn on the lightning data, and yeah, these are thunderstorms. They're marching into this foggy air mass. Heavy rainfall possible, maybe some small hail with this morning activity. Current temperatures are on the way up. We'll get to the futurecast a little bit. Right now, we've got 44 at Midway. Few spots already in the low 50s, including Joliet, Rensselaer, Waukegan, only 40. When I left the house early this morning, it was 36 at home. But everywhere is going to be warming up today. Depending on how far south you are, a greater chance of getting into the 70s. Maybe hitting 70 at Midway. I'm going to go 68 at O'Hare. If it hits 70 there, it would tie a record for this date set back most recently in 2000. So showers and thunderstorms are going to be moving in here, several waves of them. Locally heavy rainfall, maybe some small hail this morning. We have to keep a few thunderstorms going even into the afternoon. And then tonight, especially late at night, another line of showers and thunderstorms will come through here tied to a cold front, which will knock our temperatures down tomorrow afternoon. Gabriella, pavement should be just maybe a little damp from some drizzle. How are we doing on times there?
Mike, it looks like we're doing okay. We're seeing mostly green around our area, which is pretty typical for a Friday morning. Hopefully we can stay Friday light here, but a couple of spaces where we're getting that stop and go traffic, including on the Bishop Ford there as you approach 95th, and then a bit as you head up the Dan Ryan. It's around 30 minutes from 95th to the Byrne interchange, 30 minutes as well on the Stevenson from 355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive, 35 minutes on the Eisenhower from Route 390 to the old post office, and then we're also looking at 35 minutes on the Kennedy from O'Hare to downtown. There was that earlier crash that was on the eastbound side of the Jane Addams at the 190 ramp if you're headed to O'Hare. That looks like it's clear. It's over on the right shoulder. A bit of flashing lights there. Anthony.
Okay, thank you, Gabby. People living right by the Obama Center, they are protesting possible rent increases, and also they say the threat of losing their homes completely. We'll hear from them coming up.
clean it up.
Welcome back. As the Middle East conflict continues, the economy is impacted. Gas stations across the U.S. are raising their prices. New York City, for example, saw an average increase of 8 cents in a single day on gas prices. Experts also say the ongoing conflict could affect the prices of other imported goods, including plastics and pharmaceuticals.
A group of tech investors is suing the Trump administration over its sale of TikTok, claiming they were financially harmed. The lawsuit says President Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi illegally allowed the sale of TikTok earlier this year. The lawsuit also claims the administration's approval of the new deal violated a law requiring ByteDance to divest from the app or face a ban in the U.S., and that Trump's approval of the sale actually rewards executives and companies with close ties to the president.
Some people living by the Obama Center in Woodlawn say that they're dealing with rising rents, or they're even having to leave or facing that possibility. Tenants rallied yesterday outside Channy Briggs Apartments, that's at 65th and Stony Island, and they are working with housing groups to push back on rent hikes tied to the Obama Center. A buyer from California evidently wants to gut that building and rehab it, or perhaps tear it down entirely. The building went into foreclosure last year and now has a court-appointed receiver making repairs. Even though the building has to stay low income, and it has to stay low income until 2032, rents could still go up all the way to a what's called an IHDA cap. Some tenants have been there close to 40 years.
We have contributed to this community. We have put in good faith in this community. We go to church in this community. Our kids go to school here. Our kids play here. We go to the park. The field house is right down the street. So yes, I want to stay. I want to stay right where I'm at.
The tenants formed a union 2 years ago after the last landlord left. They teamed up with the city to keep services going and found out about the buyer who is supposedly offering some of those residents $2,000 to move out. All right, we have more Good Day Chicago right after this short break, so stay with us. It's 6:28. Hope your Friday morning's off to a great start.
Soy.
on Brazil, only on Fox.
Welcome back. Happy Friday morning, everybody. 6:31, and we appreciate you joining us here on Good Day.
Here are some of the stories we're following this morning. We're honoring the late Reverend Jesse Jackson. Final farewells begin today with a public service.
And we are nearly a week into the war in the Middle East. What the U.S. and Iran are saying about an end to the fighting.
And taking a live look outside this morning, it's another foggy start, and Mike says we'll see some showers and thunderstorms possibly later on.
Warmer temperatures too, right, Mike?
Yeah, you know, the record for today is 70, set most recently back in 2000. We're going to be close to that, and I'm confident that part of our area will hit that. I just think maybe at O'Hare, we come a couple degrees shy. Take a look at this view from the Hancock Building, 875 North Michigan Avenue. I still think there's schmutz on there from that dirt storm that we had a couple of weeks ago on our camera, but you can kind of barely see some of the buildings lurking underneath, and we do have that fog issue out there. Dense fog advisory, all of Chicagoland until 10 o'clock this morning, but I would not be surprised to see the fog last a little bit longer right along the lake and far north. We do have showers and thunderstorms moving into the area from the west. These are currently not severe, but you can see them moving in here, not quite to Rockford, but they've crossed the Mississippi River. They are moving to the east-northeast and will impact Chicagoland here initially later this morning, with more storms on the way later today and overnight. Gabriella, still Friday light?
Still Friday light, Mike, and I actually kind of have an announcement for Metra. It seems to be that maybe some people didn't want to show up to work on a Friday. I don't know. That might not be the detail. That's not confirmed. But Union Pacific North and BNSF lines, they have some crew shortages going on, so there might be some trains that are delayed this morning. Making sure you're checking your app is a good idea. Also, Milwaukee District North, there's a train delayed because of mechanical problems happening. Other than that, we're looking okay. Your drive times, they're all right for a Friday. 35 minutes on the Kennedy from O'Hare to downtown, 30 minutes on the Eisenhower, 30 minutes as well on the Stevenson, just over 20 minutes now on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne interchange.
All right, Gabby, thank you very much. As we remember Reverend Jesse Jackson with today's big homegoing service, we wanted to highlight a specific community that saw firsthand the impact that he had.
Our Saquon joins us live at House of Hope with the story. Good morning, Say.
Hey, good morning to you. Well, as you can see, we just moved inside House of Hope. Media members are now being let inside this morning. But of course, we still have a few hours until these doors open up to the public. Now, guys, since the news of the Reverend's passing, we have heard from family members and close friends who say that continuing his legacy is truly the best way to honor him moving forward. So this morning, I wanted to take you on a trip down memory lane, specifically to 47th Street, to reflect and remember the work and the impact of some of Chicago's giants and learn how that neighborhood, specifically in Chicago's South Side, will carry his legacy moving forward.
You know, there's been a lot of folks come through this restaurant, right? A lot of residents, a lot of politicians, a lot of educators, you know, people who we call giants in community.
One of those giants, the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr. The Reverend visited Peaches on 47th often in the heart of Bronzeville, a neighborhood once dubbed the Black Metropolis after it became a hub for African-American culture, business, and politics during the Great Migration.
47th Street used to be the space that you could come and you'd sit on the corner, you'd see any and everybody, right? From educators to jazz musicians, you know, athletes. And when you think about businesses, you know, John Johnson having this building down the street, what Mr. Higginbottom has done for black folks, in particular, you know, black men, in terms of supporting them in business. I mean, the list goes on.
Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. also played a big role in serving Chicago's South Side by pushing major corporations to increase black representation, fighting for minority-owned business contracts, and supporting youth education.
And one of my mentors, Mr. Elsie Higginbottom, you know, he used to tell me, you know, giving back is part of the fabric of what we do, right? And so he actually had me go over one year and help over at Operation Push. And I mean, that's been over a decade ago.
Chef Cliff Rome, the owner and founder of Peaches on 47th, reflected on his time and memories with some of Chicago's most iconic giants.
I actually sat and listened to him, Reverend Jackson and Dr. Timmy O. Black tell stories. So when you think about the history between those two, let alone what they've seen, what they've done over decades.
In 1996, Reverend Jackson made even bigger waves in Bronzeville and the city's South Side through his Rainbow Push Coalition, advocating for voter registration and advancing equal education. And the impact he had on the city's South Side did not go unnoticed.
When Reverend Jackson walked into a room, people would stop, right? First of all, his stature, right? But then the history of who he is and who he's become over the years. Everyone stops. Everyone wants to, touch him. Everyone wants to talk to him.
And for many on Chicago's South Side, Reverend Jackson's legacy isn't just history. It's a call to keep hope alive.
Part of the challenge and part of the work is to be able to take legacy and break it down in bite-sized pieces, and so we could distribute it for this generation that doesn't necessarily get the storytelling.
Well, today, some of those giants will be walking in through the doors here at House of Hope. That does include some former presidents, including Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton. All of those celebrations kick off at 11 o'clock this morning. Guys.
All right, Say, thank you for sharing that story, and we'll be catching up with you throughout the morning. To give you a rundown of these events, today's homegoing service starts at 11 with a musical prelude. From there and after the call to order, Dr. Michael Flager will start things off with a prayer, followed by additional remarks. Jackson's son, Yusuf Jackson, will open the service today, and after that, we're expecting to hear many remarks from family members to politicians, including Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson, as well as former presidents Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and former Vice President Kamala Harris.
All right, 6:37, time to get a check of the Friday forecast with Mike Kaplan.
Yes.
Ooh, temperatures, okay, a little warmer the further south you get, I see.
You have nailed it, sir.
Yes.
And that is the trend throughout the day today. Take these numbers, add somewhere between 20 and 25 degrees, and that's what you're going to get for a high later today. I think we can hit 68 at O'Hare, just shy of the record. But to Anthony's point, the farther south you are today, that's a lock for 70-degree temperatures on the way. Right now, 40 at Waukegan, DeKalb 49, 51 at Joliet, Midway 44, 50 at Valparaiso, and of course we have that fog out there, dense fog advisory in effect till 10 o'clock. Look at the numbers. Still only an eighth of a mile. It's been that all morning long at O'Hare. That's really low. Likely seeing some travel delays in and out of that airport, and not much better at Midway with a half-mile visibility. Severe thunderstorms are going to threaten, especially on the plains today, kind of on the northeast edge of that severe weather risk, but it's not zero. In the Chicago area, we have a higher risk of a severe thunderstorm in general the farther northwest you are, but anywhere in Chicagoland could get maybe some decent-sized hail, maybe some gusty winds out of this. Right now, the thunderstorms are just crossing the Mississippi River. They're headed towards Chicagoland here later this morning into the early afternoon hours, and that's just the first of what will be a few waves of showers and storms. Back to you both.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mike. The DOJ is releasing more documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. What these are expected to include coming up.
Welcome back, 6:42 on your Friday morning. Made it to Friday, everybody. Going to be kind of a soggy one out there, but warm later. We'll check back in with Mike. All right, the U.S. says attacks will intensify as Israel continues to launch strikes against Iran and Hezbollah militants in Lebanon. Iran also launched more drones and missiles against Israel and locations in Saudi Arabia overnight. The U.S. Central Command says the rate of retaliatory attacks and drone strikes from Iran have actually plummeted since Saturday. President Trump pushed again on Thursday for Iranians to take to the streets.
It's a time to stand up for the Iranian people and help take back your country. You're going to have a chance after all these years to take back your country.
And while U.S. officials say a ground invasion is not in the works, they've also not ruled it out completely.
The DOJ is releasing nearly 50,000 documents linked to Jeffrey Epstein. The Wall Street Journal reports some files mention President Trump. Meanwhile, the House Oversight Committee has voted to subpoena Attorney General Pam Bondi over the investigation. They're also requesting Bill Gates to participate in testimony. Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez is dropping out of his primary runoff, ending his re-election bid. Gonzalez says he'll serve out the rest of his term. The decision comes after he admitted to having an affair with a former staffer following months of denials. That staffer later died by suicide. House GOP leaders had urged him to step aside amid a House ethics investigation as well.
A new study is revealing the impact of President Trump's claims about the use of acetaminophen and autism. We'll have more on that connection and the correlation coming up after this.
Chicago.
Welcome back. The public homegoing service for Reverend Jesse Jackson is being held today. The service begins at 11 this morning at the House of Hope. Doors open at 9 o'clock. A private service will be held tomorrow. Reverend Jesse Jackson died last month at the age of 84. A proposed data center project in Joliet is moving forward. It was approved last night by the City Plan Commission. The development will be the largest one in the state, and it is dividing the city. It would be built on 795 acres of farmland on Joliet's east side. And the Bears continue to trim their payroll. As expected, it was announced last night that they're releasing linebacker Tremaine Edmonds. The Bears announced more than a week ago that Edmonds was given permission to seek a trade. The Bears will save $15 million by not bringing him back. 6:47, Mike. Every time I'm looking up at these cameras, I still keep on seeing this fog. Is it ever going to go away?
It will eventually. We're going to get showers in here, thunderstorms, winds will pick up, and then we'll be done with the fog after several days here where it's just been so murky out there. All right, the risk of severe thunderstorms, highest in yellow, a little bit less but not zero, areas in green, which includes the city and northwest Indiana. I'm still really not convinced there's going to be much in the way of truly severe thunderstorms. However, there are thunderstorms on the way. They're lighting up the skies in Iowa into northwest Illinois, and that activity is moving in our direction. So, yes, we're going to get showers and thunderstorms here later this morning. These will likely continue off and on into the afternoon. There may be some additional activity in the evening, but then we wait for the cold front part of this storm after we get close to 70 today. Some of you are getting into the 70s, but overnight into the early morning hours tomorrow, another line of thunderstorms will cross through here. Here we are at 7 o'clock, and it's still raining in the city. And then it moves on out of here. We'll be able to dry out for the rest of Saturday. Warmest part of tomorrow will be in the morning with falling temperatures maybe into the upper 40s by afternoon. But right now, Sunday looks like a magnificent day. The only downside is you will have one less hour to enjoy it because daylight saving time gets underway. 68, that's my number for O'Hare today, just 2 degrees off a record. 64 with showers and storms ending tomorrow morning. Second half of the weekend looks great. Monday, beautiful. Ahead of the next storm system with some rain and a downturn in temperatures middle and end of next week. Gabriella?
All right, Mike, a lot of changes happening with our forecast. We're looking okay right now if you're headed into the city on our major expressways. Let's go through these drive times. 35 minutes on the Kennedy from O'Hare to downtown. If you're headed back to the airport, I'm going to call it 30 minutes right now. 30 minutes as well on the Eisenhower for inbound trip from Route 390 to the old post office. 30 minutes on the Stevenson. 25 minutes on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn interchange. You see that stop and go traffic on I-57 and the Bishop Ford. Pretty normal for this time of morning. No incidents to report, but remember on Metra, Union Pacific North and also BNSF railways, they're facing some crew shortages going on this Friday, so some trains are running behind. Just keep that in mind and make sure you're checking that Metra app. 6:49 right now. We'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back. 6:53. As the Middle East conflict continues here, there is an impact here on the economy. Gas stations, for example, across the country, they're raising their prices. In New York City, for example, an average increase of 8 cents in a single day on gas prices. Now, experts also say the ongoing conflict could affect the prices of other imported goods, including plastics and pharmaceuticals. A group of tech investors is suing the Trump administration over its sale of TikTok, claiming that they were financially harmed. The lawsuit says President Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi illegally allowed the sale of TikTok earlier this year. The lawsuit claims the administration's approval of the new deal violated a law requiring ByteDance to divest from the app or face a ban in the U.S., and that Trump's approval of the sale rewards executives in companies with close ties to the president. Other news, a new study reveals the impact of President Trump's claims on autism. Researchers say there has been a 10% decrease in hospital Tylenol orders for pregnant women following the September accusations linking acetaminophen with autism. The study was published in the Lancet. Doctors continue to tout that Tylenol is safe for pregnant women and does not cause autism. All right, 6:54, plenty more Good Day Chicago ahead, so keep it right here. Hope you're having a great Friday morning. Be right back.
Say good morning, let the light shine in and make a move. Energize me, wake me up, gon' make me feel brand new. Want some of that caffeine in my veins. I need some of that swag to start my day.
Welcome back. A social media ban is in place for children under the age of 18 16, I should say, in Indonesia.
The Digital Affairs Minister says the country will restrict access to accounts on high-risk digital platforms. This includes YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and Roblox. A similar ban is in effect in Australia.
A popular gambling platform is now facing a lawsuit in the state of Michigan. Michigan's Attorney General is suing prediction market company Kalshi, claiming that it is operating illegally. Kalshi allows gamblers to place wagers on sports-related outcomes and other prediction markets. The AG says the company is conducting business without the Michigan Gaming Control Board's approval. The lawsuit aims to stop Kalshi from operating or advertising in Michigan.
The Trump administration is agreeing to pay nearly $5 million to settle a wrongful death lawsuit that Ashley Babbitt's family filed. Babbitt was shot and killed by a Capitol Police officer when she stormed the Capitol during the 2021 insurrection. According to the Associated Press, this settlement involves a $30 million lawsuit that the Babbitt estate filed. The officer who shot her was cleared of any wrongdoing.
LeBron James is making some more NBA history. The Lakers played the Nuggets last night, and LeBron has surpassed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for most field goals in NBA history. James hit a